Hello, and well, it's almost afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon. Um, Again, I wasn't able to do this early in the morning, but I'm doing it right now. So hopefully somebody finds this and finds it helpful. I am gonna just quickly go through why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for my own practice, first of all, and for setting up accountability for myself, for studying and practicing for the MCAT. And this is specifically for cars section of the MCAT and for anybody else who wants to go through it. And for this, I'll be using a website that you can go to yourself. And I'll share that right now to show it to you. Yeah, so it's this really good website where jackweston.com, and they have daily MCAT practice passages. So I'm just gonna read the passage and go through the questions. You're welcome to mute me and then go through, read it yourself, and then get to the questions part, and we can sort of logically go through the questions together. Well, I guess in this case is using critical analysis, right? Okay, so this passage is labeled Kenwick Man. It's got 6 questions, and let's begin. So, the legacy of colonialism in the New World context has created the basis for most of the current tensions within the discipline of archaeology. In the United States, the prehistoric inhabitants of the Americas were the ultimate other to early archaeologists of European descent, separated by both time and space. At the same time, European archaeology is viewed historically as compromised by its role as an enabler of nationalist, xenophobic, and racist movements in the United States as well as in Europe. The political usefulness of archaeology contributes significantly to its central importance in the current battle for control over the past. The manifestation of this trend is the federal legislation passed by Congress in 1990 protecting indigenous burials and what is referred to as cultural patrimony, the Native American graves protection and repatriation is the legal codification of much more deeply rooted struggle. Nor is the conflict over ways of knowing the past restricted to the United States. Witness the debate over the fate of 10,000 burials in a pre-contact cemetery in Australia, apparently in use since the Upper Paleolithic. Archaeology needs to be mindful of the ways its findings are used, especially how they can be outrageously reported in the media. It must work against these media narratives. The problem is evident in a recent debate over the peopling of Americas, traditionally thought to have occurred as a series of migrations from Asia via the Bering Land Bridge. Wow, I am really yawning today. I guess I need another cup of coffee. Via the Bering Land Bridge between 40,000 and 10,000 years ago. First people have not necessarily accepted this interpretation of their origins, which frequently conflicts with tribal mythology, but until recently there has been no debate over whether or not peoples of Asian descent were the first colonizers or whether or not they were the ancestors of contemporary indigenous populations. Then in 1996 in Kennewick, Washington, a human skeleton was discovered with caucasoid that is not indigenous features and a paleo-indigenous stone point embedded in the hip bone. Radiocarbon dated to at least 9,300 years ago. Kennewick man opened the lid of Pandora's box Oh my goodness, of new interpretations of the appearance of humans in this hemisphere. Could this man have been an invader killed by an indigenous person? Did indigenous communities predate both Kennewick man and the land bridge? The misrepresentation of archaeological data in the media regarding such debates is a potentially dangerous trend. The term Caucasoid is, as it is used by physical anthropologists, does not mean European. In fact, genetically, the Kennewick skeleton is likely to be no more closely related to modern European populations than to modern indigenous populations. It remains to be seen how this Ice Age individual relates to any living populations. What is certain is that Kennewick man will continue to be manipulated by various contemporary groups for their own purposes in the present. These debates are occurring in even earlier contexts with the same political ramifications. The media coverage of the possible evidence for a direct migration route along the ice by boat from Spain to North America, suggested by the physical, anthropological, as well as archaeological data. The so-called Clovis stone tool industry has its closest parallel in the Solutrean tradition of Western Europe, something that has always been a conundrum for North American researchers looking for related industries in Siberia and coming up empty. Provides a dramatic example of the politically charged nature of archaeological research. The headline on the cover of a February 1999 edition of Discover magazine seems intentionally provocative. Europeans invade America, 20,000 BC. So this original article was written by Bettina Arnold, and wow, that's a really good title, The Contested Past, and it was written in 1999. Oh, sorry about that if you heard that. Goodness. 1 second. Okay. So question number 1 is, which of the following assertions, wow. Okay, which of the following assertions, if true, would most weaken the main point of the passage? And I think we get the main point, right? That archaeological findings are not something that can put out something that's a fact. These are all just hypotheses, and putting out definitive hypotheses in the form of, like, let's say, these titles, these sensationalized, provocative titles for articles, such as this one, Europeans Invade America, 20,000 BC, can be dangerous or are dangerous. Okay, so which of the following assertions, if true, would most weaken the main point of the passage? Those who pay, so weaken, not strengthen. So those who pay attention to archaeological news are not mass media consumers. The general public does not trust mass media portrayals of scientific discoveries. Contemporary political debates are more about the present than the past. Contemporary political debates are more about the present than the past. The Kennewick man remains the only Caucasoid skeleton found in North America. Most weaken the main point of the passage. So I think, the Kennewick man, this wouldn't weaken it. The main point that it's dangerous, right? Misrepresentation of archaeological data in media. Those who pay attention to archaeological news are not mass media consumers. The general public does not trust mass media portrayals of scientific discoveries. I think this would, right? Because contemporary political debates are more about the present than the past. This would also, right? If it assertions, these are assertions, so you can't necessarily find them in there. So if the general public does not trust mass media portrayals of scientific discoveries, then they would not be bothered by these headlines, right? But apparently this headline is important because there's some political ramifications. Okay, I think I would go with that. And that's correct. Okay. So B is correct. This is correct because archaeology would not need to defend itself against media portrayal of their discoveries if no one believes what the media says about scientific discoveries like the Kenrick man. I want to go through and read like the response to all of them because this was a little tricky. So A was this right here. Those who pay attention to archaeological news are not mass media consumers. This is tempting, but it leaves open the possibility that bad media narratives still need to be addressed by archaeologists. And C was contemporary political debates are more about the present than the past. And C is incorrect because it would not clearly weaken the main point of the passage. It is not directly related enough to the main point to clearly affect it. Okay, and the Kenvick man remains, but it's interesting how 19% chose C then, though, right? And I was sort of debating between the two a little bit. The Kenvick man remains the only Caucasoid skeleton found in North America. This one's the least chosen. Given the fact that problems in the passage are caused by the discovery of one Caucasoid skeleton, there only being one skeleton does not obviously weaken the passage. After all, another Caucasoid. I just want to check if I'm connected. The audio. Yep, audio is connected, but I need to actually disconnect audio to my phone because I'm getting messages and it's like really loud. Okay, so all right. So that was okay. And let's see if I get the main idea. Right. Archaeology needs to fight bad media narratives. Okay, that's very specific. All right. Okay, let's go through the next question. The author's attitude towards archaeology's political usefulness can be best described as excited, neutral, uncomfortable, contemplative. Okay. Here, in the United States, as well as in Europe, the political usefulness of archaeology contributes significantly to its central importance in the current battle to control the past. Archaeology needs to be mindful of the ways its findings are used, especially how they can be outrageously reported in the media. Well, it's definitely not neutral. It must work against these media narratives. The problem is evident in a recent debate over the. I mean, it seems like she's not uncomfortable pointing out what's actually happening. And she's saying needs to be mindful. These debates are occurring in even earlier contexts with same political ramifications. The media coverage of the possible evidence for a direct migration route along the ice by boat from Spain to North America, suggested by the physical, anthropological, as well as archaeological data, the so-called Clovis stone tool industry. So she's giving another example besides the Kenvick man. has its closest parallel in the Solitrean tradition of Western Europe, something that has always been a conundrum for North American researchers looking for related industries in Siberia, and coming up empty provides a dramatic example of the politically charged nature of archaeological research. Hmm, not sure. I mean, attitude towards archaeology's political usefulness. Okay, political usefulness. Well, I guess I mean, she could be uncomfortable because it's creating headlines like this, divisive headlines, provocative headlines. She hasn't mentioned a positive impact. The political usefulness. So central importance in the current battle for control over the past. So yeah, okay, well, okay. Contemplative. Whether it is useful or not. Only because we're talking about um, political usefulness, not for any other thing, not for the whole field of archaeology. Oh, it was uncomfortable. Okay, so this is correct. Paragraph 1 gives in one example of archaeology's political usefulness that seems uncomfortable: the compromised status of European archaeology, which is used to support racist and xenophobic causes. The author repeats these concerns multiple times throughout the paragraph. And why is it not contemplative? The author's language is a bit too strong for such a neutral description. Okay. All right. So she's uncomfortable. All right. The author's apparent point in referring to the headline "Europeans Invade America 20,000 BC" is that Europeans probably did not migrate from Spain to North America. The media often turns a nuanced finding into a simplified assertion. Archaeologists need to carefully qualify what their discoveries mean. There is a desire to suggest that North America was first. No, I think about the media. It's about the media seem intentionally provocative. So it's more nuanced. The media often turns a nuanced finding into a simplified assertion, or archaeologists need to carefully qualify what their discoveries mean. I mean, here, let's see, these debates are occurring even earlier contact with the same political ramifications. The media coverage of the possible evidence for a direct migration route along the ice boat from Spain to North America suggested by the physical, anthropological, as well as archaeological data. So the media is inspired by what the archaeology field is putting out. Okay, I would say. Oh, my first one was correct. This is correct because the headline is preceded by a much more nuanced, weaker finding that there are similarities between stone tools found in Europe and those in North America. The reference in the question stem is reference to one of the ways the media distorts archaeological findings, a reason for the main point of the argument. And it's not C because this is tempting, but the issue here is not that archaeologists are making carefully uplifted statements. The description in the last paragraph of the discovery in question certainly suggests otherwise. The headline is more illustrative of how the media handled the discovery. Okay, fair enough. Passage information indicates that which of the following statements must be true. The only way people arrived in North America was over the Bering Land Bridge. I don't think there's enough information for that. There is currently no agreement over whether or not Kenwick men came from Europe. Archaeological findings are relevant enough to spark media interest. Media portrayals of archaeological findings are intentionally distorted. I would say this. How is it C? Archaeological findings are relevant enough to spark. Okay. Why is it not D, first of all? Okay, this is tempting, but the passage is not clear enough to suggest that the mangling of archaeological findings is intentional. People could just be mistaken or letting their bias subconsciously shape information. And why is it C? This is correct because the passage is focused on how archaeology must handle media distortion. For there to be such distortion, the passage must assume that the media is interested in archaeological findings. Okay. That was tough. To address the problems that the author identifies, which of the following kinds of assistance would be useful for archaeologists? Editor, spokesperson, lobbyist, ghostwriter. I would say spokesperson. Spokesperson to speak out against it, because no matter what they point out, if the media is looking to distort it, they will distort it, I suppose. And this is correct because the problem the passage describes is that archaeological findings get mangled by mass media, which makes them easier to misuse. A spokesperson would help because one could step in to correct media narratives. All right. Last question. Based on the passage, it is reasonable to conclude that news stories of archaeological findings are significantly affected by. Based on the passage, it is reasonable to conclude that news stories of archaeological findings are significantly affected by the desired effect of those news stories, present political and cultural conditions, attitude towards fields of archaeology, archaeological findings of the past. Well, it's not attitudes towards the field of archaeology. That's the main point, not the main point. It seems like they're using it for political purposes, to sort of spur from their narrative, to spur a kind of a resulting sort of feeling or attitude towards a political view, right? Certain political view. So it's not the archaeology or archaeological findings of the past necessarily. So right here, I think is the answer. In the United States as well as Europe, the political usefulness of archaeology contributes significantly to its central importance in the current battle for control over the past. I don't know if it's the desired effect of those news stories, because they don't. Present political and cultural conditions is what this would be most likely, right? This is affected by. I would say that. Oh, that's correct. Okay. So this is correct. The passage argues that media distortions of archaeological findings are influenced by present cultural and political debates. B is therefore closest to the main idea. Now let's see. 20A was 25% selected by individuals. So why is this not the correct answer? The passage does not clearly discuss news stories having a desired effect. Okay, cool. And that's it for today. We've answered all the questions. Thank you for watching, and join me again probably tomorrow sometime, and hopefully I can do this as planned in the morning. Hopefully I can wake up and have enough time to do this, and I think I do have something scheduled for tomorrow afterwards at 7 o'clock or something. So I should be up at that time. I should be up by 5:30 and be in front of the screen and hopefully be doing this. So thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day and wonderful weekend, and see you again when I'm doing this again. Thank you. Bye.